Most people get mental strength completely wrong. They think it looks like someone who never breaks down, someone who never feels scared, someone who always has control. But let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I met someone who completely changed how I see strength. On the outside, nothing about them stood out. They weren't loud. They didn't try to impress anyone. In fact, if you passed them on the street, you probably wouldn't think twice. But the more I got to know them, the more I realized something was different. When life got stressful, they didn't panic. When things didn't go their way, they didn't fall apart. When people criticized them, they didn't chase approval. They stayed steady, not perfect, not emotionless, just steady. And that's when it hit me. Real mental strength doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't try to prove anything. It's quiet. It's internal. And most people miss it completely. So today, I want to show you 10 real signs of deep mental strength, not the obvious ones, but the ones that actually matter. And as you listen, you might realize you're stronger than you think. The first sign is being okay with not knowing. Think about how most people react when they don't have answers. They overthink. They stress. They keep checking their phone. They ask 5 different people for advice. Anything to escape that uncomfortable feeling of uncertainty. Because not knowing feels scary, but mentally, strong people handle this differently. They can sit with uncertainty without rushing to fix it. They can say, I don't know yet, and actually mean it. They don't force decisions just to feel in control. They wait. They observe. They trust that clarity will come, and that patience gives them a huge advantage in life. Because while everyone else is reacting, they're thinking. The second sign is how they deal with emotions. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Ignoring your feelings doesn't make you strong. It just pushes everything deeper until it comes out in worse ways. Anger turns into stress. Stress turns into anxiety. Anxiety turns into exhaustion. Mentally strong people don't run from their emotions. They face them. If they're hurt, they admit it. If they're overwhelmed, they acknowledge it. If they're sad, they allow themselves to feel it. But here's the difference. They don't stay stuck there. They feel it, process it, and move forward. It's like standing in the rain instead of trying to hide from it. You get wet, yes, but eventually the rain passes, and you're still standing. The third sign is something simple but powerful. They know how to say no, not aggressively, not rudely, just clearly. They don't say yes to everything just to keep people happy. They don't sacrifice their time and energy to avoid disappointing others. And most importantly, they don't feel guilty about it because they understand something most people struggle with. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to yourself. Mentally strong people protect their boundaries, not because they don't care about others, but because they also care about themselves. The fourth sign is they don't need constant approval. Be honest for a second. How often do you second guess your decisions just because you want someone else to tell you you're right? It's normal. Humans are wired to seek validation, but mentally strong people learn to rely on something deeper, their own judgment. They still listen to advice when it makes sense, but they don't depend on it. They don't need everyone to agree with them before they move forward, because they trust themselves. And that kind of trust doesn't come overnight. It's built over time, through experience, mistakes, and learning to stand on your own. The fifth sign is how they handle failure. Most people fall into one of two extremes. They either blame everything on others, or they blame everything on themselves. But mentally strong people stay in the middle. When something goes wrong, they take responsibility. They look at what they could have done better, but they don't attack themselves. They don't turn one mistake into a story about how they're not good enough. Instead, they ask one simple question: what can I learn from this? And then they move on. That ability to learn without destroying your confidence, that's real strength. Now here's something important. If you've noticed, none of these signs are loud. There's no showing off, no proving, no attention seeking. Because real strength doesn't need validation. It just exists. The sixth sign is being happy for other people. This sounds easy, but it's not. Because deep down, we all compare ourselves. When someone else succeeds, especially in something we want, it can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like we're falling behind. But mentally strong people don't let that mindset control them. They celebrate others genuinely, not because they have everything figured out, but because their self-worth isn't based on comparison. They're not trying to win against others. They're focused on growing themselves. And that shift changes everything. The seventh sign is protecting their energy. They pay attention, to what drains them, certain people, certain environments, certain habits. And instead of ignoring it, they do something about it. They step back from toxic situations. They limit time with people who bring negativity. They create space for things that actually help them feel better. And here's the key part: they don't explain it to everyone. They don't need to justify why. They're choosing peace. They just choose it. The eighth sign is how they deal with discomfort. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. If something feels hard, they quit. If something feels awkward, they avoid it. But mentally strong people understand something powerful. Growth feels uncomfortable. So instead of running from it, they lean into it. They take on challenges. They face difficult situations. They push themselves, even when it's not easy, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know it leads somewhere better. And over time, that builds a level of resilience that most people never reach. The ninth sign is asking for help. This one surprises a lot of people because we often think strength means handling everything alone, but that's not true. Trying to do everything by yourself can actually hold you back. Mentally strong people know their limits. They know when something is too much, and they're not afraid to reach out, not from a place of weakness, but from a place of awareness. They understand that getting support doesn't make you less capable. It makes you smarter. And finally, the 10th sign. No matter what happens, they come back to themselves. Life hits everyone. There are moments when things fall apart, when plans fail, when everything feels heavy. Mentally strong people feel that too. They struggle, they doubt, they get lost sometimes, but they don't stay there forever. They find their way back, maybe slowly, maybe imperfectly, but they come back, they rebuild, they reset, they keep going. And over time, that creates something powerful, a quiet confidence, not the kind that says, nothing bad will happen, but the kind that says, no matter what happens, I'll handle it. And that's what real mental strength looks like. It's not about being fearless. It's not about being perfect. It's about how you respond again and again when life tests you. So if you saw yourself in even a few of these signs, take a moment and recognize that. Because strength isn't something you suddenly achieve one day. It's something you build. In small choices. In quiet moments. In the way you keep going, even when it's hard. And maybe you're already much stronger than you realize.